All right, team, now that we've got our overflow water graphics working correctly with our splash pumping out of here and also our puddle, I want to do a little more things on this. I'm going to add a few things here so that we can have all of this show up as a complete unit here in a second. So I'm going to probably, in this case, I'm going to say that I'm going to grab the level raw tag. So I'll go over to the right side, go to data tags, and I'm going to grab the level raw, and I might just put it, say, down here, right there. And I'm also going to bring out the level max, and I think I'm going to set it over here this time, on this side here. However, I really got some problems here, team. I got all this stuff here, so I'm going to do a little cheat. I'm going to take my mouse and see if I can lasso all this stuff we've done here, and I'm going to try to grab it right here in the middle and just move it over a little bit, maybe down like so. Whoops. Maybe move it down like this. And then I'll grab this guy and I'll put this up on top here. Whoops, I didn't mean to double click on it. I'm going to go ahead and grab it right here. And I'm going to make this, I'm going to copy all of the settings we did here over to here. So if I just right click on this thing, right here and do copy from, I can select copy all formatting. And if you notice, I got a trailing X. It's asking me who do I want to copy from. I'm going to copy from this thing here. Boom. And that does that. And then now I might make this guy just a little bigger. So I'll roll in my mouse, and I'll try to grab a corner with this mouse that's still not cooperating with me today. And I'll place that right there. Okay. And I'm also going to grab the temperature value. So I'm going to just make this easy. I'm going to go ahead and grab the temperature tag, and I'll drag it down here. However, I don't want to see the name of the tag. I just want to see the value. So I'm going to double click on this thing, or right click and go to properties. And in that case, right here where it says label and data in the contents, I just want to see the data value. So I'm going to hit the pull down here and select data value right there. And then I'm going to go, in this case, make the background of this thing always be white. So I'll go to the figure tab down here where it says pattern. I'll choose no color, or solid color, I'm sorry. And then I'll pick white. And then I'm going to give this guy an edge. I'll go to the edge tab, do maybe 2 pixels for the edge, change it to red. And it looks good to me. I'll click the OK button. And now I'm going to resize this guy something like that. And then I'm going to place this maybe on my bucket like that. Looks good. Okay. All right. So far like that. And the last thing here is I want to add a name, some kind of a numeric, I'm sorry, not numeric, but an ASCII string tag up here. So I can type in whose name this happens to be. So to do this thing, I'm going to go over to the left side of Crimson, click Data Tags on the left side, and I'm purposely going to click on the drain flow over here. That's the last tag I have listing. And the reason I'm doing that is because I'm going to add a tag after this. So I'm going to right-click here, and I'm going to do New. And since I want to put a name or some kind of a letters string type, I'm going to choose a string tag here. And I'm just going to call this one name. So I'm just going to type name right here. Whoops. N-A-M-E, enter. Okay. Now, we're going to use this on our display page, but as we go forward and we download this to the unit and so forth, I want this name tag to be retained in the HMI if I cycle power, or if I download some updated versions of this database without changing the identifier. I want it to keep the name. So I'm going to, right here in the data tab in the storage section here, I'm going to make this a retentive tag. And then once I set this up as retentive, because it's a string tag, it allocates so many places in memory. So I might just change this from 16 to say 10 characters. So now I've got 10 characters, but I want to simulate how big it might be at worst case 10 characters. So down here, team, where it says simulate as, I'm going to put my quotation marks in here. And I might type, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, and quotation marks, and hit enter. And now it's going to simulate that. I could have also used letters, but I would have to count then. So I put that in there. And now if I go over to display pages, I want to put that tag up here. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab the name tag, and I'll put it somewhere right here. Notice, team, that it filled in with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. However, I'm going to copy my formatting over here because this is a data entry field. So I'm just going to copy the formatting from this thing. So I'm going to right-click here on this name thing, go copy from, select copy all formatting, and then click this guy. And then, of course, I got to make it a little bigger because my line, but I'll do like that. Okay, so that should allow us to type in some names. We got our temperature here, we got our raw. Oh, you know, the last thing I do want to add is I'm going to put the milliamp because I'm trying to simulate there's a sensor up here. So I am going to grab the level milliamp tag and maybe put it right here as well, just on the screen. And I'm going to get rid of the tag name on that by double-clicking and go to the contents and choose just the data value right there. And that'll leave the 4 to 20 milliamp or 0 to 20. There we go. And I'll make this guy a little bigger. All right, let's test this out. I want to test this here. So I'm going to go ahead and save this, and I'll go ahead and download it to my screen. There we go. Let's see what happens here. Really, all I've done, teams, added some other graphics to it, but I've added the ASCII string, so that's the one I want to look at. So you can see right now that the name field is empty. There's nothing in there. So if I click on that, it brings up the keyboard, and I can just type my name here, like so, and put in my name. And the beauty is, as I download other ones, that'll change. And of course, if I turn on my pump, we got our awesome water graphic filling up right here, and we can see that the top sensor is reading 4 to 20 milliamp. Now we're overflowing, which is tripped over here, but graphically we can see that. Of course, if I turn this pump off by clicking on it, that turns that off. And if I open the valve, I can see that the tank drains, and I get the puddle coming here out of my valve. And then, of course, it should disappear when it's completely empty. There we go. Perfect. So I'll close my valve. Perfect. Okay. Now, the next thing I want to do here is I've got all this basically sitting on my page here, team, but I really want to make this whole conglomeration of things a reusable widget. Now, we've already made a widget on the pump, and we've made a widget on the valve, but now I want to make the whole thing become a widget. So I'm going to do this. Over here on the left, this original page 2, I'm going to right-click on this thing and do rename, and I'm going to call it original_design. Enter. Because this is the original thing we've been playing with. And then I'm just going to simply make a copy of this. So I'm going to right-click on the original design and do copy. And then I'm going to right-click on the same place and paste. That's going to make a pasted version of the original design with a suffix of _1. However, I'm going to rename this page widget, WIDGET _design. Enter. And then because we're going to use this for testing, I'm going to take the widget design page and drag and drop it on top of the others. So when we eventually go to download this, it'll be the default page. Now, the widget design page is nothing more than a copy of the other page. So, team, I'm going to lasso or encapsulate all this stuff on the right side of the left side of the page to get rid of it. So I'm going to take my mouse and I'm going to do this. I'm going to leave this IP address thing down here just because I need to find out the IP address on my network, but I'll leave that. Okay, so now I have this stuff over here that I want to widgetize. However, all this stuff right now, team, is kind of freely sitting here, and I can see it's really close on top. So I am going to do one little challenge here. I'm going to try to lasso all these goodies, at least in mine, and I'll move them down just a little bit like so. Now, this stuff is sitting here freely on the plate, if you will, on my display page, but there's nothing that organizes it together as a one grouping. So what I always do is I go over here to the right side, go to primitives on the right side, and if you go into the core primitives, in the core primitives you've got some basic shapes in here, like this rounded rectangle or the square rectangle you can click on. And you got some basic shapes, or if you want to get a little bit more fancy, you can actually go to the home directory, and you can also go into the legacy primitives, because in the legacy primitives we have a little bit about a third way down, we have the old C3 Crimson 3.0 sunken panel, raised panels, and so forth. So if you wanted to use one of these, you certainly could. So I'm going to click on today the C30 panel raised. I'll click on it one time, and it brings up all these pre-built different colored versions, which you can change the colors. These are just the pre-built ones that are in here. And let's say in this example today, what do I feel like using? I'm going to use like this teal color today. This one right here. This, I call it teal. Who knows? Anyway, I'm going to grab this thing out here, and I'm going to drag it out here. I'm going to put it kind of over here. And my goal is I want to take this box, and I'm going to drag it so it covers everything that's inside of this widget. So it's, I usually say in a class, this is like my blanket. I'm stretching it to cover everything. I can see there's a little bit of my puddle right here, so I'll get to that in a second. I might make it a little wider. So I think I've got everything covered. Now what I want to do is I want to move this behind everything that's on this page. So I'm simply going to right-click anywhere on here and go to the Arrange section and choose Move to Back. That will move it behind it. So if you're doing this now, my goal is we're going to make this whole thing a widget. Now, I might take the opportunity right now to go, well, you know, maybe I'll move this guy down here a little bit like that, and maybe I'll move this guy just over a little bit. Heck, I could even shrink this thing just a little bit. Oops. Why do I keep clicking on that? I'm going to shrink it just a little bit like so. And then by doing that, I could take this and maybe just shrink it in a little bit. Perfect. Looks good. To me, it looks good. Okay, so now I've got this in what I consider a grouping. I've not really grouped it, but I've got it all in this box, or at least it looks like it's in this box, and it could all become one fixed primitive or graphic that we're going to use again. So now I want to widgetize the whole 9 yards. Now, you can either take your mouse, and if it's not touching the edge, you can lasso like so, and as you lasso everything on the page, you're going to see that down here, it'll say 18 items selected, like so. Or you can press Control-A, which will select everything. In this case, it also got this thing right here. So I'm going to try, I don't know if I can click on that. Yeah. Well, I'm going to just do the lasso thing here. I could have also got rid of that, but I'm going to go ahead and lasso this. So it gets everything in. I can see the dots on everything. Once I have everything lassoed like so, I'm going to right-click anywhere on here, right-click, and go to the word Widgetize. So we've done the widgets twice already. Like I said, the pump we did, which had one tag called pump associated with it. And then we did the valve thing that was one associated with the valve tag. Now we're doing the whole 9 yards. Now, you can see you have here a smaller version of what's in back, so that's important. And also, I want you to notice, whenever I'm doing this whole thing like this, I like to make sure that I see everything in the box here. If I don't, it's not the end of the world, but it's a little bit harder, in my opinion, to later bring that thing into here. So I like to make sure I see it all in here. A lot of times when I was teaching this in the first beginning classes that we had this widget idea, a lot of students, I'll hit the cancel button, by accident would end up doing this. They would right-click on this thing and go to Properties, or not Properties, I'm sorry. They would right-click and go to Widgetize, and they'd have the blank box. And here we were widgetizing the box, but I really want to get everything in the box. So anytime I see like this, I'm like, oh, man, I really need to get everything. So I would click the cancel button, come back out here and re-attempt to lasso all the goodies, and then right-click and do Widgetize. So you want to make sure you see everything over here. Okay, now, one more thing. We know, team, that everything that's in this box is showing, I believe, the temp F, yep. The level milliamps is on top. This guy here, we've got level raw, max, yep. We turn on the pump by pressing on the pump. We open the valve by connecting it. And we know that overflow shows the water splashing over the 5-gallon bucket. And drain flow will show the puddle down below. And of course the name is there. So we have, let's count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 things associated with the whole thing. So now that we know we have 9, or at least 9, we're going to declare 9 widget tags by clicking the edit button here. And right here where it says count, we're going to click the edit button right here. And we're going to put a number 9 in, and this pulls up. Keep in mind that this window that you're interacting with is truly a pop-up in front of this. What you're doing right now, what we're doing is we are in essence declaring these tags, which will eventually come right into here. Okay. So we've got this, so that's what we're doing. We're declaring these tags. So I'm going to move this back over to here. Maybe I won't, right here. All right. Now the nice thing about Crimson, in my opinion, is that it lets you see the tag names over here. So now we're in the process of creating all these widget tags, which, by the way, if we happen to name them the same as the real tags over here, later on we'll be able to put these tags in a folder, and we'll be able to widgetize or grab a whole folder and put it in there. Why is my phone ringing here? Hold on, team. Okay. So, now normally you're going to think, well, I could just drag this guy right here, and as we discussed in the pump and valve tag, that's not the case. So you actually have to type in this category the names of the tags over here. And they don't have to be capitalized the same, but they do have to be spelled the same if you think you're going to eventually grab a whole folder of tags. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight here. This first one is temp underscore F as in Fahrenheit, enter. My next one, number 2, is level underscore milliamp, enter. And the next one after that is level max, level underscore max. And then we have level underscore raw. Notice I forgot to capitalize level on max, number 3, but that's all right. And then we have pump, P-U-M-P, boom. I didn't capitalize that one either. And then we have valve, V-A-L-V-E, for number 6. Number 7 is the overflow. And number 7 is drain flow. And number 9 is that newest one we've added called name, right there. Okay. All right, now, in this case, team, the description column, you could put a text in each of these fields, just to describe this. Typically, I just have my students in class go highlight, and delete. So I'm going to delete all these. Whatever you do, make sure you don't use the space bar, because if you use the space bar to delete, it doesn't quite show up as well. It actually puts a space character instead of showing the real tag name. So I always want to make sure you highlight and hit the delete button. All right. Now the data type column basically is what does this tag over here look like? Now if you remember, an X is a numeric type, a pi symbol is a floating point, a real number. The flag tags are a bit on-off. They're part of the integer family. And the tag name over here, AB, is an ASCII string. So just by looking at the left or the right side of the screen, I can see that temp F is an X, which means it's going to be an integer. Level milliamps is a real or floating point number because it's got the pi symbol. And then level max is going to be an integer. Level raw is an X, it's an integer. Again, pump, valve, overflow, and drain flow are part of the integer family because they're just a binary on-off. So there is no option here to pick a Boolean. It's part of the integer family. So we'll do that. And then, of course, the name tag happens to be a string tag. So I think we've got that set up correctly. Now, the flags category is how do these tags interact with the real-world tags? Well, any over here that are green will be a tag indicating maybe a read, not maybe read only, but a readable tag. I wish there was a word here that said hyphen readable, because that's what they mean here. So I'm going to say level for temp F, I'll say readable. That's correct. And then level milliamp is also green, so I'll make it a readable. Level milliamp is green as well. Level max, level raw, pump, and valve are 4 things that we can change, at least from the widget. We can enter in level max. We don't really enter anything in level raw, but we could, but we don't really do anything with that, but we could. And then pump and valve we turn off, so that means that our level max is going to be a tag and writable. Tag meaning I can read it from the PLC, and writable, I change that number. So I'm going to make these next 4 tag and writable. And pump will be tag and writable. And the number 6, the valve, will be tag and writable as well. Now, number 7 and 8, overflow and drain flow, they're green. That means they're just going to be a tag here. And the blue one, the name, doesn't follow my red and green nomenclature, but that is a blue means it's an internal tag. It's not mapped to an external device. And that is a value that we can write to. So we're going to make the tag one be a tag and writable. I should say the name tag is tag and writable. Okay. Now, the last part of this procedure is all of these tags right now. I just want you guys to notice. All of these tags are currently at the root directory. They're not in any folders. So I'm going to use this folder binding procedure. I'm going to go ahead and enable folder binding here in the hopes that later on these tags will be in a folder. But for me, what this does, by enabling folder binding here, that will take all the graphics that were attached to these real tags, and they're going to get cut off, and they're going to get connected to these widget tags that we are just now in the process of creating. So I'm going to turn on folder binding, and I'm going to click the OK button down here in the lower left-hand corner. I'm going to go ahead and click on OK down here. It brings me back to this page, because a minute ago, there was nothing here. Now it's here, like so. Okay. Now, the next thing here is, I don't know if you can make it out, but I can see on my screen, I got level raw, I got name here, level max. I can kind of read some of these numbers. I'm going to click OK this last time, and I want you to see what happens to our widget. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Boom. Something very interesting should happen. I'll zoom in just a little bit. If you created your widget stuff correctly, you should have got the word label on certain tags. You should definitely get the number 25 in certain places. And you might even notice some of your discrete or your Boolean things might trip to the on position. And look at this. Even this right here is at 25%. So the number 25 in here means that you've created the widget correctly, and that your items inside the widget got cut off from the original tag, and now they got connected to the widget tag. Number 25 is a known good state. If you happen to read the manual under Help and Contents, there's a whole chapter dedicated to widgets, and the only thing I really picked up in that chapter was the number 25 means that you created your widget correctly. So now that I've got this in this state, I'm going to go to the Organize pull-down menu. Now, if you notice, mine's kind of grayed out. I want to save this widget, so I'm going to click back here on the screen. I'm going to click on my widget one time. I'm looking for the red border. And once I get the red border, I'll hit the Organize pull-down, and I should be able to do Save Widget. Now, I'm going to save this to my hard drive. Here's one thing to keep in mind today. In Crimson, it doesn't let you look into a different directory. So put this into the root directory right here where it's going. And I'm going to call this one My Tank. I got a bunch of them from classes, so this will be my 30th example. I need to go through and delete them. My Tank widget. Now, once you get done saving that team, you should be able to go over to the right side and go to the home directory of your primitives. And you should be able to go into a category called Widgets. And within the widgets, you should see, well, you have your other two primitives, your pump and your valve. And now within widgets, you should see your tank. So I've got 50 million here, so it takes a while to load. But if I slide all the way down, there is my new tank widget. So now that it's there, I'm going to, I'll tell you what, that's good enough for this one here. We'll continue on here in a second with the next video.